Guys, welcome back to Irish Footy Vlogs. Welcome back to another Premier Division preview show. Delighted to welcome JP back on the show. JP, how are you doing?
Oh, good, Keith. Glad to be
Yeah,
here.
I'm sure you're very happy, but we'll get on to that in a few minutes. Drogheda United on Friday. Yeah, you can't not smile when you come on the show at the moment. Drogheda United take on Bohemians on Friday at Head in the Game Park. I got given out for calling it United Park, so they're called it Head in the Game Park. It's just a natural reflex, I still call Eamon DC Park if you like, Terryland Park, but there you go. Obviously, Bows come into this game having won at Sligo the other night, last night, in fact. Drogheda themselves had a 2-2 draw in Finn Harps, and both of them would have been satisfied with the results because, from Drogheda's point of view, they got a late goal, but Finn Harps had a lot of opportunities in that match and carved them open. Sam Long, I suppose, saved the day for Drogheda in that game. As I said, for Bows, to win 1-0 in Sligo was almost perfect. We'll get on to Sligo later, but Liam Burke with the winner again. And suddenly Bows now go into this game 3 points behind third place St. Patrick's Athletic. And we're always saying this, aren't we, on the show, that it's funny how things can change. And, you get, a team, they give it out about a manager, and there could be a lot of Bows fans saying, look, Keith Long, this, that, and the other. But at the end of the day, okay, they haven't been brilliant, but they're still in the hunt for Europe and probably will be in around that hunt coming into the season. You saw it last year with Derry City yourself, bottom of the table after 4 games, etc., etc. From Bow's point of view, though, going into the game against Drogheda, how do you see that one from their point of view?
It's a major boost, especially going to the showgrounds in Sligo, it's not an easy place to go to, but it's probably a wee bit ironic saying that, considering they've lost their last 2 games there. But generally, it's never easy. And with Sligo going into it off the back of a 1-0 defeat as well, probably would have made it a wee bit tougher for Bows. And you have to give huge credit to Bows. They go there and get the 3 points because there's been major questions being asked them in the early stages, especially more so after the way they lost to Derry in the last kick of the game. But you just have to give credit to Keith Long and Trevor Crawley and their backroom team, and the way they managed to get them players, pick them up, and they go again. And especially the Sligo, who had started well, and who it's a great one for them in in the Sligo showgrounds, and it'll give them a lot of confidence now going into this game away to Drogheda. And Drogheda, again, are another team who are in good form. They're unbeaten in their last 3 games. Taking the lead in the last 3 games as well. So they're starting to play a wee bit. And it'll not be easy for Bows. Definitely won't. Drogheda will make it tough. They did ride their luck a wee bit against Finn Harps, and according to report. But that's what you have to do. You have to hang in games and take your chances when they come along. And that's what they did. And it'll be a tough game for both sides, I think, on Friday night.
Yeah, I think Liam Burke coming back into the fold for Bows has been huge, clearly, because he scored, obviously against Derry, he scored a very good goal and an excellent winner, actually, in Sligo as well. But he just gives them that goal threat. He's one of those players, he's a little bit like Matty Smith, let's say. Like, he's kind of elusive and he can get into areas and you don't notice him, and suddenly the ball's in the back of the net. So he gives them that extra bit of quality, that extra bit of flair that maybe they were missing before, particularly with Georgie Kelly gone up front,
Oh, definitely. I think we spoke about in one of the previous shows about Bows lacking men arriving in the box. And that's what he brings. He arrives late in the box. You say he'll wander in the box unmarked. Nobody's seen him, and before they realise he's there, the ball's in the back of the net. And the goal he scored against Derry was an excellent team goal. I've just seen a wee clip of the goal he scored the other night, and it looked to be a very similar kind of goal. And a nice wee finish from him. I think he made a wee bit of a chip over McGinty, but
again, he kind of arrived into the box, as you were saying, was that type of goal, like he ghosted in, that's what they were missing.
As I always say, the Kieran Martin type player. Kieran Martin did the same very often for Derry. He was arriving in, edge of the box, 6-yard box, whatever. He's in there, he's creating havoc, a ball falls to him, sticks it in the net, and bringing him back could be the absolute catalyst now for Bows. They kick on and be the team that we know that they can be, and that they have been over the last couple of years. And like we spoke again in previous shows, like you could be languishing at the bottom of the table, and then all of a sudden you get one result, and you're right back in the mix for the top four, top three, whatever. And that's what Bows have to look at now. They've got a good one against Sligo. It brings them 3 points closer to Sligo than what they were before the game. They've got a game against Drogheda. If they can win that, it's all of a sudden from doom and gloom last week. It'll be they'll be up here next week if they can go to Head in the Game Park and win. And the same for Drogheda. Like they fought that 2-2 draw against Harps. The important thing for Drogheda, I think, in that game was not to lose it. So they still kept the ground between them and Harps. So again, if they can manage to nick a win in this, it could well create a gap between themselves and the bottom two, which everybody's tipping them to be there. But can they maybe put a couple of results together that maybe keeps them away from that? Who knows? Like it's a hard league to call this year from top, middle, and bottom.
Yeah, funnily enough, Ryan Brennan was back as well. He's that type of player we were talking about, the likes of Ghosts and areas and score goals. And he obviously scored a late equaliser as well and got them a point. So he'll give them something else as well, be it coming off the bench or starting in games, depending in terms of getting goals. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know how to call this, JP. Honestly, I was just thinking there, but usually when I don't know how to call these games, I usually say it's a draw and sit in the fence. So I think I'm looking at that. I honestly think, Drogheda are hard to beat at the moment. They get confidence from that style of draw as well. Two different styles of draws, if you like, in the last kind of couple of days. Bows now suddenly decent performance with Derry. Yes, they lost and went to Sligo and won. So, both teams will be eager not to lose again. It could be one of those as well that, as you say, try not to lose the match. So there'll be goals, surely, I think. So I'm going to go for goal scoring draw. I don't know what you think.
I'm quite similar to you. Like if I find a game hard to call, I usually just predict a draw. But I just have a feeling the Bulls might just nick us, maybe 1-0, 2-1, something like that. I just think I'm going to go for a Bulls to win it. Only just maybe 1-0, 2-1, something like that.
It'd be massive if they did win it. Shelbourne take on Shamrock Rovers in Dublin Derby at Tolka Park, and I suppose Shelbourne, good win on the road the last day. Same for Shamrock Rovers, very good win on the road as well. Interestingly, Rovers seem to be, I know they rotate a little bit, but Burke seems to be getting in ahead of Mandrew at the moment as well. And he's looking a bit better, like he's looking more dangerous at the moment, maybe because he knows if he's on the bench, Mandrew's going to come on. So that's usually helps the team as well. Looked better defensively generally against Finn Harps as well, because some of their games they looked a bit not themselves defensively. As I said, Shelbourne, good 1-0 win after that bad defeat to Finn Harps. I can see Shelbourne playing this game very, very tight. Obviously, Brendan Clark came back in goal. I can't imagine him not being in goal for this game as well. But Shamrock Rovers are going to have a lot of the ball in this game, aren't they, for a start, I think?
Oh, definitely. I can see this being similar to the way their game against Derry was quite a few weeks ago. Shelbourne, they'll try and make it difficult for Shamrock Rovers. They'll try and restrict Rovers to maybe long-range shots, maybe set pieces. I don't see them coming out and trying to take the game to Shamrock Rovers, because I think that would be absolutely I think that would be stupid to do. But I think I can see them just trying to make it difficult, just as I say, restrict them, and then maybe try and hit Shamrock Rovers on the counter-attack. Rovers, I say, they're a very good win away to Finn Harps last week, which we thought would probably be difficult for them, and it turned out in the end that it was everything but. Graham Burke is a key player for them. We spoke about him in the last show, where he's not afraid to have a shot from distance, and that's the kind of player that you kind of need in these type of games, that is going to have a pop from range, because it could fly anywhere, and all of a sudden then the game changes, and the team that's trying to defend has to come out and take you on, and create space for you. But it's a Tolka Park. Shamrock Rovers know that ground all too well. It's another Dublin derby, I think, but I can only see one winner, unfortunately, and I think that's Shamrock Rovers.
Yeah, I'd probably go which as well. In terms of Jack Byrne, he's still a couple of weeks away, I think, from hitting top gear, but you can see him, his performances are still a high level. From a Shelbourne point of view, Do they man mark him, do you think? Do you put someone like Mark Coyle on him or A. Dervin on him and try and bite at him? Is that the way to do it? Or do you have to just try and, play your own game and, watch Shamrock Rovers on the whole? But are you inclined to try and man mark a player like Jack Byrne?
I don't know. I think I can see the positives and I can see the reasons for it. But sometimes trying to defend as a team rather than trying to stop one player is more effective than trying to man mark somebody. It could be a route that Damien Duff goes down, and maybe it does most likely probably put Mark Coyle on him, because we know he can do that. Like he's a very good player in that at midfield, and he's done it for years with Harps, just sweeping up and getting the ball back. And I think if you go then and try and put him on, single him out, they mark a player for the 90 minutes, it could leave your midfield very vulnerable. Because if you're marking him, then you're following him around the pitch possibly, and then you're just maybe leaving a gap somewhere. And it's having the concentration to do that for 90 minutes. I think it's more realistic for a team to be able to concentrate for 90 minutes trying to stop the opposition than it probably is for a single player trying to stop another player in another team than it is defending as a team. But look, it's very rare to see a manager in any league try and man mark a certain player. They might, when he gets a ball, maybe double up on him, but I think they might double up on him rather than have somebody man mark him. But at the end of the day, he takes a set pieces, and you can't have anybody within 10 yards of him, and we know what he can do. On a set piece, he can either put it in the top corner or he can put it on a plate for somebody else, and that's the type of player he is. But I think regardless of whether they man mark him or they double up or whatever, I think it's going to be 3 points for Shamrock Rovers.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think it's likely that Shelbourne will create not too many chances. I can't see them creating too many chances with Shamrock Rovers. Are they going to score more than one goal? Probably not. They probably will need to get a result out of the game, because I think even though they defended quite well against Sligo, I just think there's something simmering with Shamrock Rovers. They realise now they really have to get on it. I just feel like there's a better focus or something like that in their play. So I see them getting 2 goals, and you can't see Shelbourne might get one from a penalty or set piece or something like that. But they really do, in general, need to create more chances in their games. Yeah. Even the game the other night, don't get me wrong, was a great win. But it was a penalty as well. So, that's not sustainable throughout the season. So they will need to create. I think actually Shane Farrell is a player, and I've seen him a couple of times now this season when he's been in the team, that looks a bit more bright and a bit more spark in that aspect of the game, but he doesn't play every week. I just say to myself, like, if you're not really creating those opportunities, maybe he should be playing more often.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Because from what I saw of their game against Sligo, everything seemed to come through him down the right hand side, and I think it was him put the ball across initially, and all of a sudden it's found its way to Connor Kane on the left hand side. And he's won a penalty, and it's just like, if you've that type of player that it can do things for you and make things happen and create the chances for the strikers, and then why not get him in the team? Like they do seem to look to be trying to build from the back, creating a solid defence and maybe building forward. And look, who am I to question Damien Duff like it? But I think a player like that, especially if you're going to play on the counter attack as well against the likes of Shamrock Rovers, where chances are going to be few and far between. You want that type of player maybe creating that chance because all it takes is one chance, and then you make it difficult then for your opposition then to try and break you down.
So we're back on for Shamrock Rovers anyway. The final game on Friday is St. Patrick's Day and Dundalk, and normally this would be look, we've got the Stephen O'Donnell effect coming into it. Obviously O'Donnell has obviously we know he was at Pats last year, the manager. He left in could say controversial circumstances, whether people agree or disagree. That's going to come in effect in the game no matter what we say. But the game itself, we've got 2 teams that will feel that they're good enough to get into Europe. We've Pats in 3rd, Dundalk in 5th. Dundalk probably harder to beat so far this season. Pats look more likely to win more games. So it's an interesting dynamic there. The match itself, it's an important game for both sides. I mean, Dundalk won last week after losing their first game. They'll want to go and put down a little bit of a statement by winning at Richmond. Pats likewise, if they could beat Dundalk. It's hard to say that the atmosphere, because there will be a certain atmosphere at this game, isn't going to come into effect, because you feel like it is, and you just feel like it's going to be a game where players will need cool heads in many aspects, I think, in this game. How do you see it overall?
Exactly how you described it. There's going to be a bit of needle on this, especially the way everything happened. Not only did he leave, but it practically announced it the next day that he was leaving St. Pat's after winning the FA Cup, which for me would be, if it happened to my team, it would be an absolute sour note. And it's at Inchicore, so the Pats fans, I think it's probably the meeting that the Pats fans wanted would have been the first meeting to be at Inchicore, because they would have really wanted to make it a hostile environment for O'Donnell and Dundalk. Look, Stephen O'Donnell is experienced. He'll know what he's going to be up against. He knows he knows that the target is going to be on his back on Friday night, basically, from whatever's going to come from the crowd. In terms of just like you know what it's like when no members go back, but it's especially the way it happened. So he knows what he's going to be up against. You've John Mountney, Robbie Benson, the likes of them players who left as well. They're probably going to face something similar, but probably not as much as O'Donnell's going to. But Stevie,
I think what it is as well, JP, sorry to interrupt, I think what it is as well that I'm sure some of the Pats players would have been disappointed, let's say, with the way he left, etc. Yeah. So, there's two ways you can approach that game. You can approach that in kind of needle type ways, you call it, but you can approach it in a game of you try and get the best out of the team, you try and win the match, and that's the best way, I suppose, for anyone to react in any situation. And you could argue likewise with Dundalk and O'Donnell from his point of view as well. You've got Pat Hooban there, I think, is in very good form. He was excellent against UCD in all aspects of play, finishing, holding up play, bringing players into the game and creating opportunities. We forget about him sometimes when we're talking about our Aidan Keenas and our James McGonigal's because he's been around so long, Pat Hooban, and he does it pretty much every year. If he goes and scores 15 goals a season, people say he didn't have a good season.
Exactly. And if Jamie McGonigal goes and gets 15 or Aidan Keenan gets 15, you're saying he's had a good season. But say like Hoban's, I think he's starting to get into his stride. He stayed there where the likes of McElhinney and Duffy left and went pastures new. That was his creativity basically in the past, was from them kind of players. And the new signings came in and are trying to get used to him. He's trying to get used to them. And I think now 8 games in, everybody's used to everybody. He's starting to find form. He scored against UCD. I think he was involved in the first goal as well. So, look, he's going to be a key player for Dundalk, not just in this game, but going forward especially. St. Pat's will want the approaches. Tim Clancy will want the approaches with his players, and as you say, keeping their heads. They'll have to keep their heads. You don't want somebody going in and put in a strip attack on, all of a sudden you're down to 10 men after 10 minutes or something like that there. So it's going to be an interesting game to watch. With Derry not having a game on Friday night, quite possible that I might put this one on just to see what kind of reception they get and how it transpires on the field of play. But St. Pat's have come off the back of probably 2 disappointing results. Dundalk have come off the back of a good win against UCD, which you would have expected. So, and again, Dundalk will believe that they are in the same kind of mix as St. Pat's for what they want to achieve this year. So they'll be looking to go there and make a statement and say, that's it. You're all writing us off. We're not going away. We're going to be in the fight for the European places. And St. Pat's be looking to go out and say, right, we want to put the result against Drogheda behind us. It's time now for us to kick on and be in that top 3 this season, along with maybe Derry and Shamrock Rovers. A long way to go, so we can't say that they are definitely going to be the top 2 or whatever, but St. Pat's will look, they put a marker down, especially in this game, because they've lost the Derry and they've lost to Sligo this year. They've beaten Shamrock Rovers, so they won't want to lose another game around against a team that's going to be in around them this year. Where Dundalk have only won 2 games and still have 11 points. But the 2 games have been against Harps and UCD, so they'll want to put a victory together against one of the top teams in the top end of the table. So I think there's everything at stake in this game.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting as well to see if Pat's changed that 3-man midfield that I was talking about a couple of weeks ago, because against Derry, it worked for a while, but then it was figured out. Against Drogheda, I think there was a lot of reliance on Forrester, which is always a problem when you have 2 men in midfield, to have a reliance on that one man. I just thought the balance was a bit better when they moved to the 3. And also, they were a bit top heavy, if you know what I mean. So if you've got Billy King as your 10, your striker and your 2 wingers, there's an element of getting in each other's way a little bit. So I think the 3-man midfield, it'd be interesting to see if he actually starts with that now and looks at that and says, I'm going to play 3 up top and maybe create chances in that way. So that's going to be interesting, because Dundalk do have a strong midfield as well, as in physically strong as well. The likes of Doyle in there, he's a bit of a tiger. You've got Sloggett, who's a big chap, and Benson's up and down, as you know, like he goes up, he gets up and down the pitch. So if you had, say, Adam O'Reilly and Forrester midfield, like you would fancy Dundalk winning that battle if there was 3 in there, wouldn't you, to be fair?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, because the players you've spoke about, like Benson, Sloggett, they've been about the league for quite a few years, and not just about the league, but they've been in, like Sloggett was at Derry, and Benson's won leagues and titles at Dundalk and played in Europe. He's won the FA Cup a few times, so a lot of experience in them couple of players. And then, as you say, Doyle, who they signed him from UCD, didn't they, in the close season?
Yeah, they did. Yeah. I came in from UCD. Yeah,
good to have somebody like that who's new to the group, and he'd be learning off them. But as I say, there's a lot of physicality, especially with Benson and Sloggett in there. And the thing is, Stephen O'Donnell will know the personnel as well of St. Pat's, the midfield, and whoever's in that midfield, he'll know what their attributes are and what they bring to the team. So that could be the key for Dundalk is Stephen O'Donnell, because basically he knows probably the majority of what's going to be up against them. So he'll know how to get round that midfield 3 or the midfield 2, whatever Tim Clancy decides to play. But if it becomes a physical battle in midfield, I think Dundalk are probably going to shade it.
How are you calling the game, JP?
It's a tough one to call.
Yeah,
it really is. I want to say a draw because it's a tough one to call, but I think because Dundalk have Stephen O'Donnell in the dugout, he'll know the personnel, and he'll know what, as I said, he'll know what they bring. And I just think he just might have a wee bit more nous for this game than he has in the previous games this season. So I'm going to go for Dundalk. They won, but only just.
I think it might be
2-1.
I think it might be a very tense 0-0 draw. That's what I'm going with anyway. On Saturday, actually, Finn Harps take on Derry City. I think that's an early note. Yeah, 5:30 kickoff.
Yeah,
Saturday,
5:30.
Harps, Derry City, and obviously this is the Northwest Derby. I don't need to tell you that. Derry flying at the moment, 20 points in the league, 6 wins, 2 draws. Finn Harps 9th with 1 win, 3 draws, 4 defeats, and 6 points. No better feeling for Finn Harps would it to go and almost knock Derry off their perch a little bit, would it, in this game? And obviously they had a good performance the other day against Drogheda. They got a 2-2 draw, but they'd be disappointed they didn't win it. And Derry ultimately had a comfortable win in UCD as well.
There would be nothing more sweeter for them if they went and done that, if they were the first team they beat us this year. But it's the derby. It's a derby. It's basically what happens. You want to beat your rival, simple as that. Whether you're the first team to do it or you're the second team to do it, I don't really think it matters. But I think there's that extra incentive because Derry haven't been beaten this year. And they will be really up for it, as they always are. They always have been. It's been the last 6 years. It's probably been the toughest it has ever been for Derry against Finn Harps, and it's
a dangerous fixture for Derry City, though, isn't it? It is.
Oh, it absolutely is.
Thinking, this is definitely a banana skin, so to speak.
Oh, it absolutely is. But it doesn't matter whether the teams are nip and tuck like they were last year in the league,
Yeah,
or Derry's at the top and Finn Harps is in the bottom too, or even Finn Harps are in the if we've played them in the cup before when we were in the Premier Division, they were in the First Division, and we only beat them maybe 1-0 or something like that. So it's never an easy game, especially going to Ballybofey. And I expect that the fans, the Finn Harps fans, to be out in their numbers in this game because it's a derby. It's going to be a tricky game for Derry. It absolutely is. Rory Higgins will not need me to tell him that, nor will the players. Um, Derry, say a comfortable win against UCD. Now it took them to the 67th minute or something to score, but they hit the bar 3 times before they did. They had a goal ruled out for offside. The keeper made a few saves, so it could have been a lot more comfortable for Derry. Finn Harps, totally disappointed, but they'll be pleased in the performance that they put on against Drogheda. That they'll be disappointed that they didn't win the game because they absolutely had their chances, but they'll be pleased with the performance that they put in, especially with the next game coming up against Derry, because you want to go into a derby game in good form, which Derry are, but Finn Harps are going in on mediocre form, but they're going into the derby off the back of a very good performance. Will they create the chances against Derry that they did against Drogheda? Probably not. But will Derry create the chances that they did against UCD, against Finn Harps? Probably not. So it could come down to the fact that both teams, whatever chances they get, they have to take. And if whoever takes the first chance really puts the other team on the back foot, which always does. And it's a game I'm not looking forward to anyway, because I think it's going to be a difficult game for us. I really do. And it always has been since Ollie Horgan's been in charge.
Yeah, absolutely. I think with Finn Harps the other day as well, Mac Woods looked like an impressive player. First time I've seen him properly, played very well in that game, managed to score a goal. But it's funny, they're actually they're creating a lot of chances this season generally as well. That's the funny thing with Harps. And talking to a few people, I've seen some of their stuff as well, but talking to a few people, like they're actually, I don't want to sound critical or anything bad boy, but they're playing football, so to speak. There's nothing wrong with playing a certain style, but they're actually playing football on the ground and good movement, and they're passing the ball, and it's quick, incisive play. The only thing is that they're missing really is the striker scoring. I know Manny got one the other day, he missed a great chance as well. Mihailovic hasn't scored yet, but they are getting goals, and that's going to be critical in this game. Derry City, as you say, it was a comfortable win, and they were patient, and they had to be patient as well. And from their point of view, see Manny Smith kind of back proper now, like you're starting to see some of the Manny Smith that we might have seen at Pats now as well in the team. And with Duffy out, I think the emergence of Smith coming in now, getting up to speed now, is going to be critical for Derry, I think, too.
Oh, yeah. As you mentioned there, Derry were patient against UCD, and it's likely that they're going to have to be patient against Finn Harps as well, because Finn Harps will make it difficult, as I said. But Matty Smith came in the other night, played well, had a good chance early on, put it straight at the keeper. But generally, for a player that was his first start, who's been out for a couple of weeks with COVID, thought he done pretty well. Now, one thing Derry did the other night was play Patchen further forward, and he was more effective in the game. It was a sublime free kick that he scored.
Is that something they can afford to do against Finn Harps, though? You know what I mean? You might think against UCD.
No, I don't think so.
You need to maybe drop back. Like, yeah, exactly.
I think it was the perfect fixture for them. They play further forward, but against Finn Harps, it's probably going to have to drop, say, maybe 10 yards deeper, play in the round. But look, for Matty Smith, delighted to see him eventually now getting on the pitch. And you say with Duffy out, he's going to get his chances, and it's about taking his chances. And we know what Jamie McGonigal can do. Patrick McGliney coming back from injury as well. He was sublime in the second half against against Bowes. And he played most of the match, if not the 90 minutes. I can't remember off the top of my head against UCD. Played fairly well as well. One thing I think might happen on Saturday night compared to what happened on Monday night was Daniel Lafferty will probably come back in and play the left back role. But Janet played that the other night. I think Danny might come back in it if he's fit, that is, and play that role. Finn Harps, as you say, they're creating the chances. they're just not scoring the goals. If they had the strike force that they had last year, and Adam Foley and Tunde Owolabi, they probably would have a lot more points on the board than they do this season. But in terms of them playing football, we've seen it. We've seen it in maybe not every game last year, but we've seen it in different types of games where they scored that magnificent goal against Shamrock Rovers in Finn Park. So I know a lot of people give out about the pitch in Finn Park, but if they're playing football and creating the chances, then it can't be that bad. And I know the volunteers do put in a lot of work. They try and keep the pitch looking well and playing well. So they do come with a reputation that they're a long ball team, and I think Galway probably is trying to get away from that. I don't know. But
I'm not sure if the players to play like that anyway. If you look at their team, they don't really have the players to play long ball now anyway. So that's the other way.
I'm saying. Like they don't have that what you would call target man anymore. Like
no, they don't have Sean Boyds or even Tunde who can do that, or physical midfielders or such. Like that kind of way. They're set up for that, to be fair to them, and if they click right in this game. But I have a weird feeling this game. I don't know why. Gone for a shock in Harps 1-0 win. I have a strange feeling they might upset the odds here a little bit.
You know what? It would not surprise me that, because it's what they've been bringing to the derbies over the recent years is performances. Maybe not all round performances, but it's maybe a good display at the back. They've got one chance and they've taken it, and it happened in the cup last year, and it happened in the Brandywell, and they took a lead in Finn Park, and Derry got back and equalised late on in that game. So that 1-0 prediction probably would not surprise me, but I'm going to disagree with you and say maybe Derry will nick it 1-0 themselves.
Interesting stuff. It'll probably be a draw now. Sligo Rovers take on UCD. But it won't be too bad the position they're in. Sligo Rovers take on UCD in the final game, which is 7:45 on the Saturday, and obviously Sligo on the back of 2 home defeats, 1-0 home defeats, a third home game in a row. You would suggest that if they could handpick any game, this is it at the showgrounds. But it's just there's just such a strange team, Sligo. I know Sligo fans, there'll be Sligo fans watching this as well, and they can be flying 1 minute, and the next minute, we mentioned this before, they just get a result that goes against them, and suddenly they get a couple of results that go against them. It's literally either up here or up here. Yeah. Now this game does give them the opportunity. There's no in between with them, and they'll be disappointed to have lost both games at home after that. The brilliant form, winning games basically in the first half. And what do you put that down to for a start? Do you think it's just something that's become psychological at the club a little bit?
I think it has to be, doesn't it? Because we've seen it last year where they were chasing they weren't even chasing Shamrock Rovers. Shamrock Rovers was chasing them going into June, and then they had this. I think that they played Shamrock Rovers and the result went against them, and then all of a sudden, then they just spiraled, just kept spiraling until eventually they got a result around September, end of September, that just sort of
kept them there.
Kept them there. And as you've touched on it there, you probably couldn't ask for a better fixture to try and get yourself out of that rut. But it's another banana skin, because UCD do play good football now. The other night they didn't create a lot, because I remember the commentary team, who they were very entertaining. Let me tell you, they really were. There was a ball went into the box, and Brian Maher came and caught it, and the co-commentator turned around and says, "Can we claim that as a shot on target?" So they didn't create a lot against Derry, but
that's been their problem. UCD actually, like how many goals have they scored? Sorry, they've scored 3 goals. I expected them this season to, they might leak some goals, all right, but I expected more going forward. They're not creating chances in most of the games they're playing in. They're going to struggle that way too because of that. We're talking about Shelbourne not creating chances, but UCD probably even worse than that in those terms, The
way I see it, the UCD have the personnel. They create the chances is the same. Like, we know they've Kerrigan and Dylan Duffy and Colin Whelan, but Colin Whelan's the type of guy who would be looking for the service rather than creating the service. So do they have the personnel in their ranks to be able to create the chances? Now, I was
Like
surprised to hear
Kerrigan's
that.
going to be a marked man. He's going to be a marked man. He's doing okay in the
Exactly,
games I've seen, but his influence
he
is
done
slightly
okay the other
curbed
night.
because of
I
that.
felt.
Yeah.
And I was surprised the other night to see that was UCD's first home defeat this season. So, which it did shock me now whenever I read it. Not in a bad way, like, but it's just you've seen the team at the bottom of the table. You'd be expecting them. They've lost a few games home, but they've picked up good draws at home against
Couple of
Shelbourne and
draws,
Rose and Finn Harps. Like, and I think that was their fourth game at home, and they lost it. They lost it, like, but I don't see UCD creating enough in this game. They won it, and the way they played against Derry, may have been that they showed Derry a wee bit too much respect because it was like a training game for Derry, and I can't see them performing like that again in the space of a couple of days. I think they'll make it a wee bit more difficult for Sligo, but I know that you get Sligo had 2 results go against them, and the psychological thing is, see if they don't beat UCD, that's when you could maybe put it down to a psychological thing. But I think they will have a wee bit. I think they will have a wee bit too much for UCD because they have been coming out of blocks flying previous games before the last 2, and I think they might just do this because they'll be looking for a reaction to them last 2 results.
Yeah, the only good thing, I suppose, as such from Sligo about the last 2 games, like they've conceded a goal in each, and one of them was a penalty. They don't look like they're going to concede a lot of goals, even if they're not playing well. So they just need to get whatever they were doing right in terms of the attacking third and that. And I don't know if it's a case of if a result goes against them, the confidence drops very, very quickly. It's very difficult to say because, again, they do have different players at the club as well. That said, they kept an awful lot of players as well, more than people would think, like the midfield and the back line. It's more that the forward line has changed, really, with the likes of O'Sullivan and Will Fitzgerald. But I just think with the likes of, I know they started well, Will Fitzgerald particularly, and Carl O'Sullivan, but I do think they're players that won't give you a consistency over the course of the season. And then you're looking at maybe Mata and that we don't really know if he's got that consistency or not. And can Keane keep doing what he was doing? So look, you've all these questions, like, and they can only be answered by the end of the season, really, but they're still there, I suppose.
And the one disappointing thing for Sligo fans too is the 2 games that they've gone behind this season, they've lost 1-0. And like as you touched on there, they haven't conceded goals. But what is the confidence level of going behind? Do their heads drop? Do they keep going? Is it just the fact that they've gone behind and the team has made it difficult for them to get back? And I don't know. Maybe the Sligo fans can let us know in the comments what they think the reason was that for the last 2 results. But look, this is one they'll have to get back on the winning board here. It's a game that they can't afford not to win, I don't think. Because if they want to be in the round of top 2, top 3, top 4 this year, you have to go and beat the likes of UCD because Derry have beat them. St. Pat's have beat them, haven't they?
And Dundalk, yeah, all 2-0.
Dundalk have beat them.
Yeah.
So them's the type of results. Them's this the type of result now. As I say, you have to pinpoint the teams that you're going to be challenging for your achievements, and if they get a result against a certain team, you have to go and match that or better it. And I feel that's what Sligo have to do against UCD. They have to go out and they have to match Dundalk's result, UCD, Derry's result. If they get a 1, they'll better Bose's result against UCD. So it's just about they just have to keep their heads. It's the start of the season. There's a long way to go. It's just not I'm sure Liam Buckley's been around the league long enough. He'll know what to tell his players. But as you say, it's the inconsistency of the likes of Fitzgerald and O'Sullivan that they might be flying for 5 games and then they'll go out it for another 4 or 5. So that he'll want them players getting back into it right and quickly and not letting this run linger on the way it did last year.
For me, I do think they're going to get back in the horse, so to speak. I think they'll win it 2-1 if I feel UCD might get one in this game.
I think it'll be 2-0.
2-0 as well. Yeah, as Keena would say, you have to be the most consistent of the inconsistent. So we leave it there, guys. We leave it there, guys. Thanks for watching. Let us know what you think in the comments on any of the subject matter we talked about, any of the teams, etc. Subscribe to the channel if you're new and hit your bell notification button. Thanks again, JP. Brilliant.